So that's how you sneak out a 2AR-FE valve cover. That's how you get it out. Ladies and gentlemen, we're working on a Toyota 2AR-FE engine, but what we're going to be doing today is the valve cover gasket. First thing you need to do is take off this cover. Just pulls up, locks into place, get it out of the way. Whenever I do a valve cover gasket, I like to go around and go follow, like, gonna need to take all these 10mm bolts out, but I'll go in quadrants. I basically cut the valve cover in half in my mind, okay? So you have a line here, a line there, and I gotta get all this stuff off over here, I gotta get all this stuff off over here, I gotta go over here, get this, and I gotta go over here and get that, right? So you have these 10mm bolts, one there, one there, one there, one over there. You have this line I'm gonna have to remove. You have your coil packs. You have to take the connectors out, take out the coil packs. First you gotta take out the 10mm bolts that hold the coil packs in. Engine harness right here. This engine wiring harness you have to take off or move up and out of the way. Got this over here as well. And then we've got another 10mm bolt right there. I'll tell you here in a little bit how many 10mm bolts you have. Then you have this bracket, and it kind of looks like it's in the way. It doesn't look like it's holding the valve cover on, but it looks like it's in the way, so I'll get it out of the way. Then you have these connectors. You have a connector here. You have your VVT solenoids right here. You have one in the back as well. When I get there, I'll show you that, but you need to disconnect all the connectors. For this hose, these two clamps, there's one right here, and there's one in the back as well right over there. But those two clamps, actually just loosen this up and push it up out of the way and have it go at like a 90-degree angle. You have this bolt here. You have this little stem that the cover sits on. You have to take off. I don't know if a 10mm deep socket will go over that. If it doesn't, you'll have to use a wrench. You can see that's been leaking for a while. See all this dirt and oil. But yeah, let's get started. So first thing I'll do is take all the coil packs out, take the connectors off. You don't need any special tools to do this. You can do this with a ratchet and 10mm and 12mm sockets, a couple wrenches. But I have a Chemo 3/8 electric drive. I love this thing. I'll put a link to it on down in the description below. Any of the tools I use here in any of my videos, I'll put links down below, as well as some other highly suggested tools that are great. You guys can pick up on Amazon if you guys are working on a lot of cars. So let me do this. Let me get these connectors off. These connectors for the coil packs are known to break, so just be careful. You can actually pick up new ones at the Toyota dealership, like this one's broken already, or you can order them on Amazon. Just pushing the tab back as I'm pushing the tab down. As I'm pushing the tab down, just pushing the connector back. Righty tighty, lefty loosey. Wiggle these to get them loose. If you haven't done your spark plugs in a long time, now is a great time to do it. The little seat for the coil pack stayed on the bottom, so if it does, just put it back into place. I don't see any oil coating the coil pack, so that's a good sign. Means your valve or your oil tube seal isn't leaking. Okay, I want to get this. I guess I'll start in this section, work my way over here. These look like 14 or 17. These are probably 14mm bolts. I'll get this hose up and out of the way. It's most likely part of the evap system. I'll unclip it here, and then unclip it here, and then just raise it up at a 90-degree angle. Okay, go in here, grab this clip, bring that out. If you ever need to break a hose from a connector, you can always get your pliers and just kind of move it back and forth. Get this one, moving up and out of the way. Okay, move that up and out. Okay, now I can see I have a connector here, just pushing on the tab, same time pulling up. Okay, it's locked into the harness there. Got another one. Let me show you where this one's at. Going right there. You got to get that connector, this connector, and that connector are the same. Okay, I'm going to get a tiny little screwdriver to help me out. Okay, right there is the connector on the back side. right here. Okay, so I'm gonna, as I push this, I can see that the clip is coming out. As I do that, I'm gonna get a little screwdriver underneath the connector and push it up, which I just did, and it came out. So if that happens to you, take the little clip, push the clip in, get yourself a little screwdriver, go underneath the connector, pop it out. Also make note where these little nubs are for the cover. Do I have one? No. Is there only two? There might be one back here, but I don't think there is. So, like I said, starting this quadrant right here, work my way around. I'll take these bolts out, take this out, work over here. So, let's keep going. I don't think I really need to take this one out. Just make it easier, clear everything. Like I said, just make note of where it goes. I apologize to In-N-Out in advance, but I have one of your trays that you guys serve food in that I keep bolts in. I love this thing. Love the profile of how short it is and how wide it is. Great for holding parts. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, In-N-Out. I didn't mean to steal it. Actually, I didn't steal it. Okay, what happened was my sister came in from Chicago at like a midnight flight. And we were at LAX and she was hungry. And I told them to go. I ran in there because the line was super long. I told them I wanted the food to go because we had a long drive in front of us, and they ended up giving it me in that little red tray. So instead of taking the time to go back in because we wanted to get back home, I just borrowed the tray. Okay, these are 14mm. I don't think I necessarily need to take them all the way out. Probably this one, just so I can move the bracket out of the way. Okay. Get okay, right down here, this is all part of the wiring harness, right? So I'm going to take this off. Get this free and clear because I want to be able to lift the wiring harness up a little bit when I'm getting the valve cover out. Cannot do that with my hand. And I have this one that's being held on. Right here, you have this little clip, and I had to push this clip that way as I'm pulling up on the connector to be able to get it up and out. Okay? So got that out of the way. Got a 10mm bolt right here. Only do this when the engine is cold, because you will burn yourself. You have a connector here for the VVT solenoid that you want to get rid of. Just squeezing and pulling back at the same time. If you guys want, before you actually start taking this apart, just so you remember where everything goes back together, you can always take pictures with your cell phone of the layout. Use it as a quick reference guide when you guys try to put everything back together again. Okay, got that out. Got a bolt here for the wiring harness. That is actually a stud. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually remove this stud, make it easier to get everything up and out of the way. Because behind that, below that, is another 10mm bolt. We got one here that I'm not going to be able to get to. We have one right here. Don't drop this. And out. We got that one out. There's enough room. So right here, you have a 10mm. Don't lose that. Down into the abyss of the engine bay. Let's see what else we got back here. Okay, so we have this connector as well, part of the VVT system, which is right here. You have a connector we have to loosen up. Pushing on the tab as I'm pulling back. Got that out, so it's right there. Okay. I have a connector for the evap system I'm going to take off right back here. Give me a little bit more room. I'm sure there's a couple more bolts that hold this side of the wiring harness on. Before I do that, I have two other bolts. Okay, we got the wiring harness off, or up, I shouldn't say off, but you have a bolt right there. And then one right there. You have a 10mm too. So get those off. If I wanted more room, I could take these connectors off the alternator. If you decide to do that, make sure you disconnect the 10mm on the battery, because you have live wire, or you have a 12-volt live wire right here. And if that's still connected, If it's still connected to the battery and you hit something, you're gonna arc weld. Okay. So let's get back here. Get this 10mm out. Don't drop that one back there. Get this one up and out. Okay. You have 2 here in the center, or 3. 1, 2, 3. So you have an O-ring on the 3 bolts that go in the center. Let me see if they're the same length. No, they're not the same length. They're longer than the other ones. So the 10mm on the outside of the valve cover are shorter than the ones that sit in the middle. So just make note of that. I have all 3 right there and the 4th one. So you guys can see that the ones in the middle are a bit longer. Okay. Let's see what's next. I'm going to get these studs out. All right, you have a stud here, you have one over here, there might be some over here that I'll need to take off too, but it makes it a lot easier when you take these out. For whatever reason, Toyota engineers like to use these studs and then put a bolt on top of it. They do it on the 2.4s, the 2.5s, which this one is the 4.0s. And what happens is that you start pulling the valve cover off and then you have to mess with the clearance issue because this stud is sticking out. So what I found that works the best is just to remove these all together. I mean, not like get rid of them permanently, but just take them out while you're doing this job. And that way they're not hindering you when you're trying to pull the valve cover out. So they come out very easily. Like I said, it's an E6 socket that you need to get them out. These two should be exactly the same. That's what it looks like. Nothing to it. You can see the top is different than any other kind of, like, you can't use a I don't even think you can get a 12 point on there, but it's different. See the socket? It's like a star. It's like a Torx. They call it an E6. E6. Can you guys see that? E6. So to make my life easier, I just go ahead and remove those while I'm working on it, and that way the valve cover doesn't get stuck up or hung up on anything when you're trying to sneak it out. Okay, we've worked from this quadrant over to this side. On that side, took those studs out. Now we have this wiring harness right here as well, kind of like this one over here. We have a bolt and a stud right there, and we have this bracket that the wiring harness protector holds onto. So instead of taking this off and kind of messing with that, I'm just going to take this 10mm bolt off, and hopefully that will give me enough room to pop this off and be able to access the rest of the bolts on the back side as well. Once I have that 10mm bolt off right there, I'm going to take that stud out. We should be almost there. Double check that all these 10mm bolts on the outside are out or off. We can see what's going on after I get this off. Short little 10mm. And I'll come down here and get this one. Don't drop that. Come in with my stud remover. Okay, got that out. Same length as the other two. Okay, so let me get this out of the way. Let's see if this is a 10mm. Yes, okay, got that out of the way. Give me a little bit more room to see what's going on here. Okay, so we got a 10mm right here, and probably a couple on the back side. We should be almost there. Okay, got that one out. I watched other videos on YouTube where guys are like taking all this air assembly off and doing all these wiring clamps down here and all this other ridiculous rigmarole that you shouldn't have to do. I mean, the wiring harness is tight, so if you didn't have a way to take off those studs, it'd be kind of a little bit more difficult. Okay, we have one right here, and then one right here, right where my finger's at, right down here. Trying to feel if there's any more. There's one right in here in the back corner. Let me see if there's any underneath this wiring harness. Doesn't appear to be. I have all the bolts off. Now I'm just going to come in here. You don't want, this is aluminum. This is all aluminum, so you don't want to sit here and mar the surface. This is a piece of steel, so steel will cut right into aluminum. You could engrave your initials in it if you really wanted to. So what I'm doing is just slowly trying to pry up on this, making sure I have all the bolts off, which appears that I do, because if you had any of the bolts left in here, it wouldn't pry up at all. So just be careful when you go through here. This looks like it's the original gasket. This thing has probably never been off. You don't want to jab it in there, like stab it and hurt a component in there or anything. Just helping you ease your way into this. Ow. Okay, now I see why guys have gone in there and taken this harness connector off. If any Toyota engineer is listening, just give us a little bit more slack, please, on the wiring harnesses. Just a little bit will make a great big difference here. Okay. Over on the right side here, this is where, over here is giving me the most problems trying to get this thing out. So you have a steel bracket here that does not want to come out. I'm going to have to take the airbox off and get down there to what that bolt is that holding this bracket on to give me enough room to be able to clear it. Yeah, or I'm going to take these sensors out because I'm hitting these sensors. These sensors do not want to come off, and I can't just slide the valve cover off because these sensors are hitting it, and just need a little bit more room, dude, a little bit more room. Okay, so right in the back on the left-hand side, you had a little bit. I could get a little bit more room out of the wiring harness. There's the two left side fuel injectors are down there, and the harness is connected down there as well. So I disconnected the two left ones, and there's a little bolt down there that holds the. Looks like it's part of the evap system. That there's a 10mm bolt there. I'm just going to take it off, so I get a little bit more room out of this. That right up there. Okay, so yeah, it freed up a lot. So let's see. Can you see the harness right here? I'll bring it in here later on after I get this off so I can show you. Yeah, I can't really see it from the angle you're at. So let me see if I can get this off. Ooh, that made all the difference in the world. So I'll show you here in a second what I'm talking about. Let's see how many bolt holes we have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, if you include the ones in the center. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 on the outside. You have 3 on the inside. So just make sure you don't need to take off the VVT solenoids. One's the intake, one's the exhaust. Let me flip this thing over. This gasket is rock hard. So these are little sensors I was telling you about that I thought I'd have to take off to get the valve cover to clear, but all it took was for me to take off the disconnect the fuel injector harness, 2 of the fuel injectors, and this little bracket for the evap. Looks like part of the evap system. Just one 10mm bolt holds that in. I was able to get it free and clear. So that's how you sneak out a 2AR-FE valve cover. That's how you get it out. So if I have helped you save money, go ahead and hit that subscribe button.
There's a fry. I get it. No, dibs.